Hey, it's the pizza man again. I hope you all saw that last post that Nick made. Well, since the incident in the forest, I've been released from the hospital. Thankfully, the creature didn't cause any permanent damage. It just took some bandages to heal the wound, and my leg was in a cast. Although getting used to those crutches has been a real pain in the ass. Nick's had to help me up several times when I've lost my balance and fallen on my face. Oh, speaking of Nick, he's actually moved in with me. We got to talking some more since the last post, and as it turns out, he's actually been kicked out by his parents. The reasoning for it was because he got kicked out of his college, which was because some other students whom he had problems with claimed he was harassing them. Those students had been going to that college for years and were well liked by everyone, so everyone believed them over Nick. He got a call from his dad, who berated him over what happened. Apparently, his dad and mom believed the school and the other students over their own son. Great parents, right? Well, Nick was told by his dad not to bother coming home for a place to stay. Then shortly after, Nick found out that his number had been blocked by them. He did see them again at the funeral, but he didn't bother talking to them, and they didn't bother speaking with him. Since Nick had been banned from his home, he had been drifting from place to place. He would stay at the cheapest motels that he could find. Sometimes he would even sleep in his car. Truth be told, he was just about out of money when he returned to my town. I normally wouldn't share information so personal, but I figured you'd all be wondering why Nick decided to move here, of all places. I asked him if it was okay to tell you all of this, and he said that it was. I managed to get him an interview at Formaggio's. According to Nick, it went something like this. Have you had any experience in this kind of restaurant? Mr. Formaggio asked Nick. I've done some work at Domino's for a couple of years. Good enough, you're hired. So now he and I are working together. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. I've been back to work since the last post, mostly to show Nick the ropes. Because of my injury, there are a few conditions in regards to me going back to work. For one, I can only head out to work when it's day out, and I have to be home before it's dark. If I'm working alone, if I'm closing with someone, I can stay to help them. And lastly, if there's any heavy fog or thunderstorms out, I get the day off. But I wanted to talk about something that happened on Thursday, because what occurred I have never seen, nor heard about. Nick and I were at Formaggio's. It was later in the day, and most of the customers were heading home. The only customers we had left were Chuck and Sam, who were getting ready for their nightly patrol. Should I ask them to leave since we're closing? Nick asked me. Nah, they're cool. Hey, Pete, I don't think we've been introduced to your friend here. I think I overheard your name is Nick, right? Chuck asked him. Yeah, nice to meet you, Chuck, Nick said, reading his badge. They shook hands, then Nick did the same thing with Sam. They all chatted for a little bit before I told Nick we had to get busy closing. After telling us bye, Chuck and Sam left. Then Nick and I got to closing. Fortunately, there are plenty of counters and such for me to use in order to get around, so I didn't have too much trouble. Nick learned pretty quickly. I showed him how to shut off and clean the ovens and dishes, and where to store food in the walk-in fridge. He had taken out the trash, and I was counting to see how many of which ingredients we had left, and which ones we needed to buy. I was halfway done counting when Nick called me from the dining room. Hey, Pete, can you tell me what the hell this is? It's probably just some, I was about to say until I saw what Nick was looking at. Up in the sky, far ahead of us, was a swirling rainbow-colored mass, which was hovering above the forest in the distance. You ever see anything like this before? No, I've never heard anything about something like this. I haven't even seen it in my book. Think it's dangerous? Don't know. Wait, I think that thing is hovering over Carl's house. Take a picture or something of that thing. I'm going to Carl's shop. What happens if something comes out of that thing and attacks us? We make a break for it. I called Carl. He picked up on the first ring. Pete, what's up? Carl, where are you right now? Just in the back of my store, about to close up. Why? Need something? Look outside towards your property. He did as I asked. What the fuck? How long has that thing been there? Not sure. Nick and I just noticed it. We didn't see it before. So I'm guessing it just appeared tonight. Chuck and the others have probably noticed it already, but I think I'll call them anyway. Have you seen any creatures yet? Actually, we haven't come to think of it. And they usually start coming out at this time. Do you think that thing in the sky has something to do with it? Before he could answer, that thing in the sky slammed to the ground. The impact could be heard all across town. The fuck? You see what that thing just did? Yeah, oh shit. Something came slithering toward the restaurant. Said thing was a giant worm creature. Its mouth was circular with sharp teeth. Its face had multiple eyes matching the rainbow color of that thing that was in the sky. Please tell me the restaurant has rooms to keep that thing back. Pete, everything all right? Carl asked. We're going to need some help, I said, seeing multiple returned and other creatures also coming towards the restaurant. Don't worry, I'll be there as soon as possible, Carl said before I heard a loud crash coming from his end and the call went dead. Carl! Carl! I yelled. Oh shit, something happened to him, didn't it? Looks like it. Does that mean he's... I don't know. I hope not. Carl's tough. We have to believe he pulled through. Where does that leave us? That worm thing could come here at any moment. Call the police. Once they hear about what happened, they'll come here. Nick called and told them about the situation. They told them that they were on their way, but it may be a while since there were a lot of creatures. They said that it's going to take like 10 minutes. We'll just have to hope we can survive until then. Look under the counter. You'll find some weapons. Jesus Christ, look at all these guns. Yeah, toss me the shotgun and a box of shells. Quickly, now, I said as the worm was now quickly slithering over to us. I quickly loaded and cocked the gun as it started to rear its head back. As it started to strike, I threw the door open and gave it a shot to the face. It was knocked back, and a returned tried taking the opportunity to rush me. I knocked it back with the butt of the gun, then quickly closed the door. You almost let one of them in. I didn't have a choice. If that thing breaks the glass, they'll all be able to get in. I thought the runes are supposed to keep them back. They do, but opening the door creates a sort of opening in the barrier. Obviously, we can't exactly draw runes in midair. Now, do me a favor before that worm thing recovers. You ever shoot a gun? A few times. Grab a gun and ammo, then head up to the roof and start firing at these things. I'll meet you up there in just a second. We don't get paid enough for this, he said, climbing up the ladder to the roof hatch. I had to shoot at the worm again, and several returning before Nick started firing. When he did, I leaped over to the ladder, then made my way up. I saw several winged creatures descending toward Nick and shot them all back. Wow, I didn't even notice them. Thanks, Pete. But don't mention it. Just keep shooting. I got the other side of the building covered. The worm and other creatures continued attacking for the next 5 minutes. We heard other gunshots coming from different parts of town. One of the flying creatures managed to get past me, then sink its teeth into Nick's ribs. Oh, motherfucker, you piece of shit, he said, pulling out a knife, then stabbing out both of its eyes. He aimed his shotgun at it, then blew its head off. Sorry, Nick, I was reloading. Oh, shit, I said, looking up to see another winged creature descending towards me. I was able to block its attack, but it started to lift me by the gun I held. I thought quickly, pulling out a knife and stabbing it in the neck. Seeing as how the creatures that attacked us were dead, save for the worm, we decided to train our guns on it. Unfortunately, we were met with the sound of clicks when we pulled the triggers. "Is there any more ammo down below?" I asked. "No, I grabbed all the ammo when we came up here. Should I grab the handguns?" "They won't do any good against this thing." "Then what are we going to do? It's getting ready to attack again." The worm got ready to attack again when it was knocked back once more. We looked over to see Carl with his gun pointed at the beast. He ran over to it and tossed something in its mouth. He then ran away from it as fast as he can. What happened next was the worm's head blowing up. Bits of blue blood rained down from the sky. "Oh, got some of it in my mouth," Nick said, spitting. "Never mind that, we have bigger problems. Look." The explosion had attracted another horde of creatures who swarmed towards Carl. He was able to hold them off for a little while, but eventually it looked as if he would be overpowered. Thankfully, Chuck and Sam arrived just in time, then took out the other creatures. "Thank fucking Christ," Nick said. "You said it. Let's head back down." Shortly after, the 5 of us were sitting at one of the tables. I asked Carl what happened, and he said that a creature that he hadn't seen before smashed through his store window and grabbed him, but he was able to break free and kill it. Chuck apologized for taking so long and said that they've been dealing with calls all night, then told me and Nick to stay safe, and he and Sam left. When he did, I asked Carl, "By the way, how'd you make that thing's head explode?" "Grenade." "What? How did you get a—" "Don't worry about it. I got the job done, right?" "True. Need a lift home?" I looked at Nick. No thanks. My car luckily didn't get damaged." "All right then. Can't believe I have to get my store's window replaced and redraw them runes on it. What a pain in the ass. Anyway, you two take care." "Take care, and thanks, Carl," I said. "Don't mention it." "Oh, and Nick?" Carl asked as he was almost out the door. "What is it?" Carl pointed at me and then said, "Make sure you have his back." Nick smiled and said, "You got it." We locked up and went home after Carl left. On the way, we saw twice as many police cars than usual and more creatures that we hadn't seen before. Nick and I are lucky to have survived our encounter, and he was fortunate enough to only need some rubbing alcohol and a few bandages on the spot where the creature bit him. I don't know why that thing in the sky appeared, or how these new creatures are presumably connected to it, but we're going to get to the bottom of it. Knowing Carl, he probably has already tried to investigate whatever it was that landed near his property. I'll call him tomorrow to see what he's found. Then Nick and I will go to his house later this week. I just hope he doesn't get himself killed. And I hope that I don't run into one of those tall cunts again. I'll see y'all later. This is Pizza Pete, signing out.